The bishops of Rochester and Dover should apologise face-to-face to women who suffered horrific abuse at a church-run children's home in Gravesend. That's the key recommendation of a new investigation into Kendall House, where girls were routinely drugged and locked up, some suffering physical, emotional or sexual abuse between the 1960s and 1980s. Simon Jones reports.
Described as an evil, horrible place, more like a torture home than a care home by its former residents, where girls were heavily sedated and placed in straitjackets.
Death seemed a nicer option than being there. There was no talking, no therapy. I did try to kill myself once, and when I got back to the home after being in hospital, I was locked into the sick room for 6 weeks. I can only actually remember the last 3 days of it.
So you were drugged?
Heavily drugged.
An independent review set up by the Bishop of Rochester earlier this year found cruelty was normalised. Now the investigation has heard from more women and made new recommendations. It describes horrific and indefensible suffering, and the bishops of Rochester and Dover should consider inviting the women placed there to meet them personally for a face-to-face apology.
One hopes and prays that if anything like that was going on today, we'd be in a different place, and we're not running institutions like that anymore. But it was completely unforgivable what was going on there.
The church today apologised again 3 decades after Kendall House closed.
32 years is a little bit too late, sort of thing. We're not going to get proper justice.
The church says it's written to all 24 women who gave evidence to the review to apologise for what happened. But those apologies haven't been face-to-face because that's only just been recommended in this latest review. But some of the women say it shouldn't really take an independent report to point out the necessity of doing that. Simon Jones, BBC South East Today, Rochester.
Well, our reporter Chrissy Reedy joins me now. And Chrissy, you've been looking in more detail at today's report. And it does seem extraordinary that this situation was allowed to go on for as long as it did.
It does, Rob. Earlier today, the Bishop of Rochester told us the biggest failure by the church is that it did not investigate robustly what was happening directly under its nose. This should have been a place of safety, where it turned out to be a place of cruelty. Now, the church doesn't run residential homes like these anymore. However, it does still work closely with vulnerable people, and the Bishop of Rochester said today it's imperative that lessons are learned, because what happened at Kendall House all those years ago, quite frankly, is unforgivable.
OK, Chrissy, thank you.